over the fence here.
Over the fence. He went over the fence.
Fire in this little area, but there's several little fires like that burning as firefighters try to get the gas off, try to put the fires out, and try to figure out what's next. That looks like an underground gas fire burning. And as Steve mentioned, hundreds of firefighters are on the scene here in Northeast Philly. We have been getting, our phones have been ringing off the hook here in our newsroom as people call to tell us what they saw and heard. And
Do you like
really
fruit juice?
It's okay.
Just a loud bang and an explosion from there. So it's really chaos at this moment here in Northeast Philly. Again, Cottman and Bustleton Avenues, right along the Parkway, right at Roosevelt Mall. The bulk of this crash, hard to tell where it hit because there are several different areas. But if you're just joining us, 6 o'clock tonight, around that time, we have reports of a small plane crash that happened here in this area. And a lot of people texting me right now saying, what is going on? And they grew up in this area. They you know, their hearts go out to whoever's involved. And we're getting multiple calls from people, though, who heard the explosion, who saw it, they felt the ground shake. And, you know, and as you can see here, no surprise, that fireball is enough to wake anybody up within a mile or two radius from there. Again, this is from a viewer, about a half mile, I'm assuming. And just seeing that fireball right there, it's incredible. We're doing our best to get Steve back. We're doing our best to get some aviation experts on and try to get a ground picture for you. We're doing the best we can to try to bring you the very latest. It is chaos in North Philly, so I'm doing my best to try to navigate you through this what appears to be just a disaster in Northeast Philly right here. And I don't know if you can you hear? I think we had to mute some of the audio from this when that loud bang happens. I think. The person in the house might have cursed a little bit, but you can see what happens.
Right, Rod.
As Steve Keeley reported earlier, gas lines, houses on fire, firefighters there to put car fires out, parking lot, a large debris field that stretches city blocks.
Wow.
Again, Roosevelt Mall is where this happened, and so we're just trying our best to tell you what happened here. There are row homes in this area. There are gas lines that fire crews are trying to shut off, I would imagine. There are people in homes possibly in need of medical attention. No word on any fatalities at this moment. We have to treat this as a mass casualty event.
MSNBC don't even got coverage on it. Nah, they might.
Right there, the restaurant.
Raising Cane's is all the way in Philly now? I did not know that. Wow. They're not even covering it? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Okay, now we are live.
Wow.
Officially live. Our first live look at the ground from the scene, and this just gives you a glimpse at the response. Every cop.
Joy Reid, I went on MSNBC to see if they're doing it. Joy Reid ain't even talking about it. She talking about the other one.
I believe this looks like it is the area of
That's crazy.
the staging area, I believe, at Bustleton and
probably get to the
Cottman.
next.
There is still smoke smoldering there.
How you don't get to it?
Philadelphia fire on the scene. Cops are there as well. And this is going to take quite some time to figure out, first of all, whether anybody in this area needs help. There might be people inside homes that they don't even know about who need medical attention. So they're probably going to have to go door to door as soon as they can get this fire out. And not only that, but what we're doing in D.C. is these debris fields, they are, to preserve them is of utmost importance. But right now, the priority is saving lives, keeping everybody safe, whether there's another threat of another fire from an underground gas line, that is something they're going to have to look into as well. Based on the body language here, it looks like some of these firefighters and police officers here are trying to get the area cleared off. Media there as well.
Engine plane crash, Aaron, and we're still waiting to hear more from both fire.
So single engine plane. Okay, so it was a small plane.
We're looking at these images here when you're describing it. You're saying single engine plane, which would obviously mean you wouldn't have had many people on board. This is our live affiliate image, so when a hand comes up, that's just because that's what you're literally seeing here from our affiliate. Danny, when you just described it, though, that they're saying it was a major incident and all hands on board from the emergency perspective.
Yes, Angel. Yes, and good evening. Yes, I already showed. Yeah, Fox News.
In terms of
They showed it
casualties, you
multiple
also know the
times.
area
Yeah.
very well. You talk about it being very crowded. It's early on a Friday evening, and we can see the smoke.
Listen, Aaron, I think the pictures in this particular case speak a lot about what we can see that is happening on the ground in Northeast Philadelphia. I think it is too early at this point to know what casualties could be, so I don't want to speculate at this time. We will learn more from Philadelphia Fire, I'm sure, in the coming minutes, if not a little bit longer than that. But one thing I will note, Aaron, is that Philadelphia International Airport, that's on the southern side of Philadelphia. But where this is only about 5 miles from Northeast Philadelphia Airport. It's a smaller airport in the city, so that perhaps could be a reason why we're seeing a smaller single-engine plane in that particular area, again, because it is very close to a smaller airport in Northeast Philadelphia. But again, to your point, I've seen and covered other events in Philadelphia that have had this similar all hands on, so I don't think you can read too much into the number of casualties specifically there, just that there are fires and there was a crash here and they need a lot of help making sure that this is attended to. Aaron?
Yep, and obviously a very busy residential and commercial area. All right, Pete Montine is back with us along with Brad Bowman, former Black Hawk pilot. Pete, can I just ask you, as we're looking at these images out of Philadelphia, in the context of what we're talking about, a major airline disaster, 67 people and such a tragic loss of life in Washington, and then you see something like this. It is right front and center on the national consciousness and national fear, and we're talking about what's happening here. I mean, you can see those live flames, Pete, behind what appears to be obviously a residential set of apartment buildings. It's behind that, looks to be perhaps the scene of where that single engine, we understand, plane crashed. But this is just what could be a horrible thing and an unbelievable fear to have something like this happen in such a populous area.
It's important to make the distinction, Aaron, that this commercial crash involving the Black Hawk and American Airlines Flight 5342 is so rare. The mid-air collision here that took place, and commercial aviation is incredibly safe. The sad reality is that the small airplane record is not near as good, and I can tell you, as a pilot of single and twin-engine airplanes, the record is not great. And if people say, we call it the big lie in aviation, that the most dangerous part of driving, or the dangerous part of your flight is the drive home from the airport. That's true in commercial aviation. It is not true in general aviation, in small airplane flying. It sounds to me like this was a small airplane with 2 casualties. Of course, the images are very fiery. Danny eloquently pointed out that this is not only just near Philadelphia International Airport, but also PNE, Philadelphia Northeast. I've flown into that airport. It's near a densely populated area. Of course, things can go awry and come down on neighborhoods, and that is a sad reality of the fact that airports are in close proximity to neighborhoods and people. Most of the time, that is not the case. And it's really important to point out here that we just don't know all that much just yet. And this is newsworthy right now because of the backdrop of so many things that have been happening in aviation. And the incident on Wednesday night is going to be one of the worst in aviation history. Definitely the worst of this century and the worst of the last 20 years.
It'd be worse, we're saying, up to 23 years. And when you watch these flames here, these are the live pictures out of Philadelphia. Mary Scalvo is also joining us, former Inspector General of the Department of Transportation. Mary, you hear Danny and Pete, who are both so familiar with this airport. Pete has flown into it as a pilot. The airport that this small plane was near, small plane airport, single engine aircraft. You just heard Pete mention 2 casualties on board. We don't know about casualties on the ground. You just don't know. You see these fires raging, you know it's a crowded area, but we just don't know what we don't know right now. Nonetheless, it is pretty stunning to see these images. And as you can see right now, that Cotman Foods, right? It's just to give the point, this is a busy commercial area.
It is, and it's also a reminder, we've been talking about for the last 2 days that commercial aviation, passenger service aviation, had reached a very safe level. It's probably the safest, of the last 10, 15 years is very safe. But while all that is true, general aviation, on-demand aviation, there are still many accidents, many casualties every year, many risks. And so this will be, while it's not a huge disastrous event as we've seen in Washington, D.C., the NTSB and in a small plane, sometimes the FAA needs to make recommendations and do an investigation, and they will.
Brad, we don't know at this point if there are casualties on the ground, if people were killed going about their lives who live there. We just don't know. But obviously this is an incredibly crowded area near this particular airport, as Pete was pointing out. How hard is it to pilot a small single-engine plane over a residential area? And obviously we don't know how it came down.
You know, I've piloted single-engine Huey helicopters, and when you have your single engine, if that engine has a problem, then you're coming out of the sky, and so that's one of the challenges that's distinct from a Black Hawk helicopter, for example, that has 2 engines. But you know, this is so troubling, this breaking news, and it's really particularly jarring because it comes on the heels of what we're experiencing here in Washington. And you know, every life is precious, whether it's 1 or 2 or 67. I think that's important to say. But I agree with Pete that there's a real distinction here between the scale of the atrocity, even though this is breaking news. With this particular incident in Philadelphia, I'm concerned that we might have some casualties on the ground as well. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And that would be distinct from what we saw in Washington, where the aircraft going into the river.
Yes, it went into the river. I mean, Mary, to even think that you would be thinking about how much worse it could have been, because the loss is just so incalculable in the crash over the Potomac, the American Airlines and Black Hawk crash. And yet, obviously, had it come down, feet before, you could have had casualties on the ground as well, which may well be what we're looking at here, even though, of course, at this point, we just don't know. It is, Mary, unsettling and scary for people, and in the context of what we're talking about, obviously these are 2 very different situations, but when you're looking at an explosion like that fireball, the insecurity and fear that people have when we're hearing about shortages of air traffic control and all these other issues that we are hearing in the context of this mass air tragedy in Washington.
That's right, and everyone focuses, as they rightly should, on the planes, on the people on the planes, the passengers, etc.
Where's it? KYW. Let me look. It's crazy out here. Why is it not working? Okay, you're not working. Okay. WPVI.
Cottman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard. Many reports on social media right now saying they heard a loud explosion and then saw that massive fireball. What you're looking at right now is a video from the scene here taken, but we want to get you live right now to Action News reporter Brianna Gallagher, who has now made her way to the scene. Brianna, if you can hear me, tell us what you were hearing, what you were seeing, and what you were learning about this plane crash.
Yes, great. We rushed to the scene. We're right now where police are holding us at Cottman and the Boulevard. We're a few blocks away from where that crash is believed to have happened. There are a lot of folks in this area, a lot of emergency personnel. We just spoke with someone who was driving at the time. He pulled over because of this. He said the flames were so outrageous. It was dark at the time, but it lit up the sky.
Dude!
As if it was
Get out of it. It always got to be us. It's always got to be us.
And right now we know that one person,
baby,
they are believed to be.
It's always got to be us.
Clothing and the gear that they recovered at this crash. They also understand that there may have been 2 pilots on board. Still working to officially confirm that. They were heading south on a medical assignment. Again, this is all unfolding as we speak. We're trying to get our sources to confirm this information. This is all preliminary. A lot of emergency personnel are on the ground working to find some answers and recover those that are missing. Greg?
So much shock and awe. This is happening right there in northeast Philadelphia, and ironic because we just covered the situation in D.C. with that American Airlines plane and a Black Hawk helicopter. Tell us what people are saying there on the scene. How are they reacting to this?
Yeah, great. Since we just got here, we were only able to speak with a handful of people, some who are just arriving, coming here to see what is going on, what is happening, to try to help out. But the one person we spoke with, he was driving home at the time, and it was dark out, and he said the flames were so intense that it lit up the sky as if it was daytime. The boom was so loud, it shook him in his vehicle. So he pulled over. He was nervous, you know, he wasn't exactly quite sure what was going on, but he pulled over, and he's been here ever since, just, you know, like a lot of the other people that are in this area trying to figure out what exactly happened here.
Brianna, we know that first responders are trained for situations just like this one. We see crews right there behind you. We would imagine that this is an event where all hands on deck.
Look,
Breaking news.
oh, it's
If you
gonna
could
be
tell us in
us.
relation to where you are right now, how far away are you from where this plane went down?
Girl, it was gonna be us.
Behind us here in this Macy's, just look at the presence of those who have responded. You can see the number of Philadelphia police vehicles. We have fire, first responders, ambulance here. The scale of the people that are responding to this, because it's still unclear of everything that we know at this point. So it's an all hands on deck situation. I know commissioners are here. We're going to get updates as, you know, the night unfolds, but it's an all hands on deck situation as we work to, you know, uncover more information here tonight. And more responders are arriving on scene, you know, since we even got here just a few moments ago.
And folks, if you're just joining us, continue to follow this breaking news happening right there in Northeast Philadelphia along the Roosevelt Boulevard and Cottman Avenue, where a small plane has just crashed. Reports of debris into
Look at this. They got the white boy doing it. Get out of here. Oh my God.
behind you. We assume that most of those individuals are first responders, but you're not far from the scene. Are you smelling fuel? Are you seeing the flames still there behind you?
When we first pulled up, you could smell a little bit of fuel or flames, but that's kind of subsided. I don't know if we're used to it now. But if we go in this direction over here, this is where a lot of the sirens are coming from. But this is where police and officials are keeping us at this point. They're pushing a lot of people back. We're really not allowed past the intersection here along Common Avenue, our staging area. This is really gas station. It's a hub for these officers who are all here right now. But
Yes, Bull said that is true.
Most of the sirens appear to be coming from. Because we haven't been able to get past this point, I'm not exactly sure what things look like. Hopefully in a little bit, they'll let us, you know, maybe get a little bit closer so we can find some more answers.
Now they just closed off the airspace to low altitude aircraft indefinitely. Who's this biracial or Spanish chick? Who is this? All right, calm down, Smash Bros.
Well, Gray, I just spoke to police, and this is the latest information that they've given me. Again, this is preliminary information, so, you know, this story is very much developing, but police say that it was a small plane.
Go ahead, Smash Bros.
2 people were on the plane, and they were en route to Missouri for a medical assignment, and they said that the plane is pretty much destroyed after it crashed into those homes and into the
Don't
cars.
open that.
And they said right now
Do
they
not
may have
open that.
recovered one person who they believe may be the pilot because of the gear that the pilot was wearing. But this is what we know right now. As you know, this story is very much developing. But take a look at what we're seeing behind us. You can see that there is still some smoke billowing into the sky. You can see there are several police officers where we are standing right now. This is very much an active scene. If you look all the way down the street, you can see that there are so many ambulances, lights flashing. We have fire trucks, police officers trying to make sure that the scene is under control, figure out what happened here, collect evidence after, again, as we mentioned, this small plane crashed.
We know you have been in touch with law enforcement officials. You alluded to the fact
Ooh.
that there were, well, actually, we see someone being taken away in a stretcher. Not sure if this individual was, obviously they were in the area where this happened, but we're not sure exactly who that person is or what injuries they suffered. We did get reports that there were debris into buildings and also onto cars, so not sure if that individual was in the car, maybe on the street, or perhaps a building. You did talk about what we're hearing so far preliminarily. 2 people on that plane, and we know that one person, or at least one individual presumed to be the pilot. Are police talking at all about any fatalities on the streets? We know that this is a heavily traveled area, well populated. Are we hearing anything about casualties or fatalities or injuries there on the street? We did see that one woman being hauled away in an ambulance.
Yes, we saw that one woman on the stretcher. You know, Gray, we're working to learn more out here, but because this is a developing scene, police are trying to gather as much information as they can.
Easy with the T word.
But we are in the staging area, so we're hoping to hear more from police as soon as possible. But right now, we know, as you mentioned, they recovered that one person who they believe may be the pilot because of the clothing and the gear that that person was wearing. We also heard that there are reports of several casualties, but again, we are working to learn more about who was injured, how many people, ages. We know again that there were 2 people on that plane, and police say that that plane was pretty much destroyed, unfortunately. So this is kind of what we're seeing right now. You can see we're pretty far back from where the scene is, but we're seeing smoke. We're seeing a lot of police officers out here, and I had a chance to interview someone who was in the car at the
I'm surprised it didn't. That's crazy that the gas station's right there.
Lit up the sky. It was like a bright light, and he was just shocked to see that. He ended up parking, getting out of his car, and started recording some video, and was just standing by. And him and several other people, a whole group is out and remains here on the street just trying to see what happened. And he mentioned that, you know, something like this is so sad, and he's praying for all those who are involved and hopes that everyone's okay. But the community is together during a time like this, and he's sad that it has to be during this moment. But he said it's just so scary sight to see, and that he hopes everyone's okay, Gray. And
so they're saying it's a Learjet.
Sentiments of this entire community as we are in shock and awe as we see the scenes there right in Northeast Philadelphia, and honestly we cannot help but to think about what just happened.
So it's a Learjet from Mexico,
Washington, near Reagan National
allegedly.
Airport, where the American Airlines plane collided with that Black Hawk helicopter, and in that incident 67 people died. Of course, the investigation continues there, and as this all unfolds, the investigation not even started yet, as they have to answer so many questions. As you said, we know this plane was on a medical assignment. Preliminarily, 2 people on board. It's presumed that the pilot may have been recovered there, but police are telling Anna that that plane has been destroyed.
No, they said it's a medical copter. It was a medical plane.
You can see the flame, smoke there coming from what happened a couple of hours ago. This small plane crashes right there near Cotton Avenue.
I ain't gonna say nothing yet. I'm gonna be quiet, but I'm thinking something. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Law enforcement. Brianna, on the way there, describe what you saw, because we know this area is
Hang on.
I want to see that. Wait, what just happened?
That was the plane that crashed. See, it's right there. I think they said they were transporting somebody. Reports of body parts getting cheese. Why would you? Okay. You got some.
Meu Deus! Quase que a nossa casa pegou fogo! Ai, meu Deus! Ai, meu Deus! Ai, meu Deus! Ai, meu Deus, o carro pegou fogo! Ai, meu Deus, nossa casa pegou fogo! Ai! Ai, meu Deus! Ai, meu Deus!
That's crazy.
O que foi, um avião? Um carro bateu no outro? Alguém falou pra mim que era um avião?
I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna be quiet. Damn. Sure, this not even the same thing. Why would you put this up? It's not even the same thing. Like, why would you put this up? You're just trying to grift some views. Look at this. He trying to grift views. Yeah, they crazy, bro. Damn, that plane was 43 years old. How are y'all getting this close?
Era um avião relacionado com alguma coisa de emergência. Caramba, mano. Você tá louco? Que loucura. Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Really, dude? That's the name of your TikTok? Rich Brazilian Nick? Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Vocês não estão entendendo. A loucura que tá isso aqui. E o tanto de peça. Olha onde tem fogo ali, ó. Atingiu foi 2 lugares, não foi só um, não. Foram vários lugares.
Never mind. I'm not even gonna go there today. Wow. That's crazy. Looks like everybody just took them 3 videos and just put it back up on their page. Let me see what the news is talking about. Who else? Fox 20. Let me see. Fox 29 in Philly got. Let me see what they got. This is crazy.
It looks like a war zone out there. It's very chaotic. It's frightening. We don't know the extent of any injuries on the ground right now. We're still trying to get that information. And as we have reported, we believe there were 6 people on that plane when it just took a note.
6 people.
So you're going to have gas and electrical workers there trying to probably shut off all of it in the area just as a precaution to get the fires out. That video up in the top left is from about 45 minutes ago. And at that moment, there was still smoke in the sky. Steve was having a hard time breathing, and a lot of folks in this neighborhood were having a hard time breathing, smelling jet fuel, smelling gas, and obviously several fires burning in scattered areas, just chaos. Exactly what you'd think a terrible plane crash would look like in a very dense area. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing in Northeast Philly. And we bring in Fred once again to talk about this plane crash, and just a terrible coincidence here, Fred. When you talk about a mid-air collision and then a plane that virtually just fell out of the sky.
All right, so a couple things. So it's funny. So now, you guys can't record this, but I tell you some of the things that I'm saying, which gets back to kind of speculation that I was saying earlier. There was a Lear 55.
They already started blaming Trump.
Yeah, the Michael Transport Services. That was scheduled to depart Northeast Philly, I think for Springfield. I want to say Springfield, Illinois. So if you go to FlightAware.com, you can see scheduled departures from Northeast Philly. And that aircraft, Lear 55, was scheduled to depart. And so that airplane would have a bunch of jet fuel on it. Some of the, a lot of the aviation rumors are starting to roll around about the instrumentation loss, which is something we had talked about earlier. Who knows if that is what it was? But with a Lear 55, that's what the airplane is. I mean, the Lear 55 is a very sophisticated airplane. A Lear 55 with a highly trained crew, something kind of like catastrophically wrong.
And so you're saying, based on the FlightAware data that you've looked up, that Lear 55 was taking off Northeast Philly Airport when?
It was scheduled at 6:06 p.m.
And that's
Right, and that shortly thereafter is when this all happened. And Fred, you also talked about, so it would also be completely fuel.
Huh?
Making
One in Atlanta.
crash with fuel everywhere, which people are reporting smelling jet engine fuel. We've seen all these fires.
All right, so let's look and see here. So that airplane may have.
What the fuck is you talking about?
So we have scheduled departures out of Philly. Looking at FlightAware, right? So then there was another one, Canada Regional Jet, going to South Bend, Indiana. That airplane looks like it got where it was going. The one of these Lears looks like it's still up going where it's supposed to. So it's really hard to tell. Kind of.
That's crazy. You see that shit?
I mean, some people are saying.
You saw that?
It was a Lear. Some people are saying it was a Canada Regional Jet.
That's crazy.
okay. Fred TC, thank you for joining us, giving us your expertise, and I appreciate what you very much helped us try to understand what happened here. So thanks for your time. We're going to get back to Steve Keeley on the ground. It's been a while.
Why y'all keep talking about those downtown Atlanta is shut down?
First of all, get to a safe
What the fuck?
And then, his reporter instincts.
What the hell's going on?
Sort of tell us what he is seeing, and he'll be joining us in just a moment.
And this all happening shortly after.
Ain't nobody even talking about it.
At Bustleton and Cottman, the Roosevelt Mall, a small plane crashing into Northeast Philadelphia. People seeing a plane taking a nosedive in the sky, and then you see on the left-hand screen there just a huge wall of fire, emergency crews, dozens and dozens, all available.
I don't know what the hell they talking about.
Police, EMS crews responding to the scene, which has been very chaotic. As we've talked to our Steve Keeley, he's having trouble.
That looks like a car accident. Okay, so it's a mental health crisis. Okay, so I don't know why the hell they talking about a plane crash in Atlanta.
Available to the city of Philadelphia, offering the mayor, the fire department, the police department, and the Office of Emergency Management any possible help that they could need in handling
That's insane.
this crisis in Philadelphia that we've been dealing with for about an hour and a half or so.
Yeah, the AP reporting that, as we just heard from Fred saying that this flight took off at 6:06, disappeared from radar about 30 seconds after climbing to an altitude.
There was a plane crash in Atlanta yesterday. I doubt that. That'd have been what anybody was talking about.
It's only 3 miles from the airport, so however high a plane like that can get in just 3 miles and just a few minutes after takeoff is what we're talking about here. And at some point,
I know there were people from Atlanta that were on that plane, but I don't see that.
people on board, 2 doctors, 2 pilots, and a patient and a family member took off around 6:06, and something awful happened after that, and this is basically the result.
Right, and Fred TC talking to us about that this is a very sophisticated
Yeah,
aircraft.
I don't know what they're talking about.
And it had a highly trained crew on board, so saying that, something like this is hard to explain.
This is a new live look on the right side. That's live. It's a gas station here. It looks like Cotton Food Market right there, one of the strip malls in the area. You still see smoke and sort of a haze in the air. Steve Keeley, can you hear us?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so you're not going to believe, this debris field keeps getting wider. So I parked at the McDonald's, as I told you earlier, Jason, at the Boulevard at Common Avenue, which is across the boulevard from the plane crash site. Two officers tell me here is an air tank from the airplane, and the air tank has a number 10 on it with jet rescue label on it. So I said how it was a medical jet with 2 doctors, 2 pilots, a patient, and a family member, a commander had told me, and that was confirmed by another officer. This would be on a medical plane, an air tank, an oxygen tank that is right on the corner where the McDonald's is, across all 12 lanes of Cotton Avenue, and that's how big the debris field is. I just talked to Sergeant Eric Ripley. Any estimated time of arrival on the police news conference, he said, we might have to keep moving it back because we keep finding stuff from the plane. So I'm standing here with this air tank now that hasn't been roped off yet, and I don't know if it was kicked down here or it's down, it's across all 12 lanes of the boulevard. It may have been hit by vehicles and ended up here. But this, they keep moving the scene back. They had closed the boulevard. It was not closed right after this when I was on scene. But this air tank is here, and I'll get a picture in so you can see it. And it's just shocking how much they keep finding. Now, it's dark out, it's been raining, and there's been smoke filling all the time. I just walked 2 miles to get around everything safely to get to where they're going to have the media news conference, because there's a gas station across the 12 lanes of Boulevard. But they keep finding things, so they may move the media back before they start talking. So I'm going to head back over there. I'll get you a picture where this air tank is. It looks like Philly police come over just to secure that now. But what an awful scene this is. And still, I have not gotten any information on potential victims on the ground. This was a crowded brawl. It was a packed Common Avenue waiting for the traffic light at the boulevard. And I know firsthand because I was in it moments before and moments after on both sides. So there's your update. I'm going to go back over to Shane. I'll get right back to you, and we expect to hear from, I know Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel just arrived. We'll hear from police, and we'll learn what they know at this early juncture still. As you hear sirens, fire department, ambulance is leaving, and it's also a gruesome scene. I was warned at one point, everybody was moving me back to be for our safety, and other things. It's just an awful scene. And their police and the fire department doesn't even know the extent of everything that happened just yet, because Common Avenue is one of the busiest streets in Philadelphia, along with Roosevelt Boulevard, at the busiest time of day, evening rush hour on a Friday.
All right, Steve Keeley, get to safety, and as soon as you have more information, we will check back in with you. You are doing an awesome job out there.
And I was going to ask Steve about injuries. He obviously has no information on that, but I mean, objective one for first responders is to find anybody on the ground who needs medical attention. And I don't know if you can hear me, Steve, but have you seen any patients being loaded onto gurneys, people being scooped up by ambulance or police officers in need of medical attention, anything like that? Okay, I think he took off. It's very fluid for him.
Right.
We're trying to get him back on the phone. When we do that, we can. But as you mentioned earlier, Dawn, Governor Josh Shapiro is the one who really helped shed some light on this plane, the occupants, the 6 people on board a medical flight. The governor also saying that the plane crashed about 30 seconds after it took off, leading to this scene that we see here right near Roosevelt Mall, in the parking lot, into stores, into homes, fire crews trying to put out those fires. And in these 2 live shots, the one on the right is live, I believe the one on the left is not. But there may very well still be fires burning as crews try to shut off gas lines that are
Hold on 1 second.
disturbed by this plane that fell from the sky.
Tonight, we're hearing that Lear 55, 6 people on board, 2 patients, or I should say 2
Can y'all still hear it?
pilots, a patient, and a family member on this plane that just took a nosedive into the street. We're told that Roosevelt Boulevard from Steve Keeley is currently closed. He's hearing from top police officials. He's been in the thick of this all night long. We're hearing that it is a gruesome scene. He's been warned it's just awful. We don't know the extent of any injuries on the ground just yet. He is waiting to hear more from police. They're setting up a command center, so we don't know the extent of any potential victims on the ground. But you know, as you look at this video, you can see the massive response. The video on the left showing the fire burning after this plane crashed into the ground. And I thought it was interesting, as Steve pointed out, Jason, that where he was at this gas station across 12 lanes of Cotman Avenue, that they found an air tank, an oxygen tank.
Oh, nice for y'all to finally acknowledge it.
Presumably medical equipment that was on that plane that somehow
a medevac plane flying a medevac mission.
Oh, look, Joy Reid has to do a live read. Oh my God.
Who has the right of way in these incredibly crowded skies? You have all of these large jumbo jets and passenger planes attempting to traverse the country and doing regional and national flights and international flights. And then, as you said, you've got these smaller planes, choppers, other aircraft that are also in the air that may fly lower or higher, but they're competing for that airspace with these larger planes. How do air traffic controllers make the decision and coordinate all of this traffic? It seems that it would be incredibly difficult.
It is incredibly difficult. It's complicated, but the system is pretty tried and true. So basically, someone files a flight plan, and that goes in. So first come, first serve. You file a flight plan, they're going to lay your flight out. Someone else files another one and says, well, I want that same altitude. Well, it's already taken, so you have to take another altitude. And, you know, the process continues. For the most part, you pretty well get the routes and altitudes you would like, unless you're going into an incredibly busy airport environment. Having said that, priorities come about when someone says, let's start with a routine operation. Everybody is first come, first serve. But, you know, you and I are in an airplane, and we burn more fuel than we planned on. I'm going to request a little priority. I'd like some out of operational necessity. And that will move me up a little bit. And of course, the most ultimate is to declare an emergency, which puts you in first place. If you say, hey, I'm having a big problem, I'm declaring an emergency, you're number one to land.
Sure. And obviously, Ali Velshi, who has lots of experience flying as well, has talked about the fact that what you don't do is obviously deliberately try to aim toward an urban environment. When that happens, it suggests something really catastrophic must have gone wrong with the plane, right? If it winds up landing, you can literally see apartment buildings behind those planes.
Yeah, I don't, again, I don't want to speculate. There's, you know, a lot of information missing from my analysis. So all I know is literally what I've heard in the last 2 minutes. And I don't know whether the airplane had an engine failure. Maybe they landed long and tried to go around and lost an engine to go around. I don't know. But a lot of things can complicate a landing, and no one, you're right, no one ever intentionally. You pick the path of least resistance and the least harm. If you're going to have to put the airplane down, you're going to fly it and pick out a path that will do the least amount of damage to you, the passengers, and where you're landing. So sometimes that means, you know, going into a lake instead of a housing development. But, you know, that's what they do.
Randy, please stay with me if you could. I want to bring in Jeff Gazzetti, MSNBC contributor and former NTSB investigator. Mr. Gazzetti, thank you so much for being with us. There's very little that we know, obviously, other than that it was a Learjet with 2 on board. It was on its way to Springfield Branson National Airport in Missouri. That is all we know. We know that it was doing some sort of medevac mission. What would be the start, other than, obviously, the immediate recovery, securing that area, making sure that people are evacuated and away from those flames and that toxic smoke? But when all of that is accomplished, what would be the next steps in trying to make sense of this and figure out what happened?
Hi, Joy. Well, from what I'm hearing, this was not a landing accident. This occurred right after takeoff from the northern Philadelphia airport. Just a few minutes after takeoff, it got to somewhat of an altitude, and then it somehow there was a loss of control, and it came screaming down and impacted some structures. The Lear 55 is a business jet. It's got 2 jet engines. When you say medevac mission, that can mean a lot of things. They could have been transporting a patient. Patients are transported with fixed-wing aircraft, but not because they're really in distress, like you see a helicopter picking up an accident victim. It's usually a hospital transport to go from one hospital to another for a surgery or something like that. Medical transports could also be for just organ transport. This is what fixed-wing aircraft are typically used for. With regards to the accident, you can be sure that the local NTSB field office is going to send a couple of investigators, and they're going to sit back and let the first responders put out the fire, and they're going to have to wait for the scene is safe for them to go in there. This aircraft likely had a cockpit voice recorder, not a flight data recorder. And so they'll be looking for that. They're just going to have to see, they'll look at recorded radar data, ADS-B data, which is records the track of the aircraft, and they'll be able to see how high it got and then how quickly it descended into the ground. And so they'll begin their investigation from there.
And we can see how quickly it descended into the ground, that terrifying image of it sort of barreling into the ground. You said that these types of planes do not have a flight data recorder, which we tend to think of as the black box that gives us the answers as to what happened. So you're saying that these types of aircraft don't have that kind of recorder. Could a flight recorder that doesn't have the data part of it give as many answers?
So it doesn't have a flight data recorder, but it does have a cockpit voice recorder. So you would be able to hear what the crew is saying inside the cockpit. But yeah, smaller planes like this don't have the wiring, and there is no regulation to indicate that it needs to have a flight data recorder with all the
It will now.
With all the flight controls are going second by second. But still, a cockpit voice recorder can yield a lot of information also. And hopefully this recorder was working, and it can survive the fire. Flight recorders don't survive sitting in smoldering temperatures for 2, 3, 4 days. So hopefully they'll be able to get that fire out and get that recorder.
See if we can re-rack that and play that again. Then I want to give you all a chance to respond to it and a chance to look at that one more time. So it looks like someone doing a delivery, okay, getting out of a van. You're going to see that light. There we go. Watch it coming down.
That could have been his house. You mean a delivery? Why would you let a delivery person in the house like that?
It does look like a missile coming down. You can see that light. Can you tell me, Mary, what you see in that? That again, if you look at that bright light, that appears to be the plane. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it coming almost straight down. Pete's description of a lawn dart is very good because it's coming straight down, and the explosion, and I was looking up on flight radar. This plane was a very busy plane. It made about 2 to 3 flights every day, pretty long flights, so it most likely was loaded with a lot of fuel. Its destinations just today: Miami, Philadelphia, Springfield, a couple trips in and out of Philly, Port-au-Prince, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Albuquerque, Fort Lauderdale, Mexico, Veracruz, Toluca. So it was a very busy plane, made about 3 flights a day. It would have had full fuel on board, and coming down with like a lawn dart with that full fuel on board, that explains so much of this explosion. But flight radar says it is registered to jet rescue air ambulance, but registered in Mexico. So I agree with Les, it's probably 2 pilots on board.
All right, jet rescue
And that
air
would be a
ambulance.
requirement in the US, I don't know Mexico.
Okay, I just want to watch this again and give you a chance to look at it as well, Chief Ramsey. The explosion itself, the sound that you hear on the ground, when we are thinking about horrible unknown here. The casualties on the ground. What do you hear here as you look at this, Chief?
Well, clearly, I mean, he went straight down. So earlier we were talking about whether or not he was trying to land on Roosevelt Boulevard or Cotman. Obviously, that's not the case. And even if it had been, those are 2 incredibly busy streets at that time of day, the end of rush hour. But clearly, whatever happened, he struck the mall or if he struck housing, what he actually struck. I haven't gotten back to the person I reached out to yet. Just trying to get a sense for what took place. But I can tell you this, that area is very, very busy. The odds of not having on-ground casualties is very low. I mean, the odds are high that there would be casualties on the ground, unfortunately.
It looks that way. May I ask you, Les, just to look at that image again? Obviously, the weather's bad. This is a ring cam, right? So we can only see what we can see. But when you see it, it is already on fire. It is coming down as if there had been sort of I don't use the word scientifically, but an explosion. I mean, that thing is already fully on fire and exploded as it's coming down. All right, let me just bring in here. We've just got an eyewitness on the phone, so let me just interrupt here and bring in Ryan Tien. He saw that Hughes explosion. He was getting dinner from a food truck. So Ryan, tell us what you saw.
Yeah, so the explosion actually happened behind me. I first noticed the sky lighting up a bright orange, and then I peeked out the window of my car, and then glanced behind me, and there was just massive mushroom cloud erupting, and yeah, I kind of just got my food and got the hell out of there.
He still got the food.
Even realize what it was?
He had to keep the food.
Some could have been. Yeah, go ahead.
I honestly thought it was a missile or something. It looked like a nuclear explosion. It's just right out of the movies.
Dude, if it was a nuclear explosion, you'd be dead.
Can you tell us, Ryan?
That food better slap.
And knowing the area where it might have hit. I mean, we are just so uncertain now, and everybody obviously is truly realizing that there most likely are casualties here, in addition to the 2 individuals on the plane on the ground. Can you give us any sense of how busy it was or where it was relative to where you were?
Yeah, so I was in the parking lot of the P.C. Richardson Sons, around 2420 Popman, and it was, from what I could tell, it kind of hit around Bradford Street maybe, or just right behind that area.
Okay, well,
Huh?
Yeah.
What did he say?
This is information at this point. It is just a complete unknown as everyone is trying to understand the scale of this horrible incident. Ryan, you did take a video while you were there. I'm just going to play it. You said we could share it, so I'll play it. Everyone can see it. That's what you're describing. I mean, look at that. It's almost 2 plumes of smoke and all of that. That's what you're describing. I think everyone can understand why you would describe that as looking like some sort of a mushroom cloud or a missile.
Definitely, and this was just what I captured, because I didn't even see the initial impact, which really lit up the sky.
Mary, can I just bring you in here to this conversation with Ryan? When you look at his image, the video that he took of that actual explosion, which he describes as like a missile, but it seemed like a nuclear mushroom, and you see all of that debris coming illuminated behind it. It's obviously cloudy and wet.
Alicia, that was a medical plane.
Two dual plumes in that initial moment of fire and smoke. What does that say to you?
Right. It was fully loaded, and by looking at flight radar and its prior flights, they're fairly long distance flights, 1,200, 1,500, or longer flights, so that is a full load of fuel. And from the video of the plane coming down, I agree, it looks like it was coming straight down for one turn of the plane. And it was
Yeah, it could have been oxygen tanks on there because I think they said they were transporting somebody to Missouri.
Explosion on board, maybe an uncontained engine failure or something like that. But then when it turns around, it could be just the plane's reflection. But clearly, absolutely loaded, and that would with fuel, and that would make sense, given its flight history of fairly long distances and about 3 flights a day. So a workhorse plane, whatever it was doing, it flew a lot.
It flew a lot. We don't know what it was doing. We don't know much about it. We know it was jet rescue air of something of that nature, but 3 flights a day, obviously very significant. All right. Thank you all so very much as we are looking.
All right. Crazy. How the hell did he get this? That's crazy. We went through Twitter already and Pursuit. All right, I think you guys got the gist of it. I just got a notification that Lisa's live. She might have more. But yeah, this whole thing is crazy. Justice, I guess who's not getting on a plane anytime soon. Shit, we're rethinking our Japan trip. Maybe we'll take the train to LA and then maybe I'll jump on a boat. Screw it. No. All right. I guess that's it. All right. Praise to the victims. This is nuts. No, Eagles are playing next week. Super Bowl is next Sunday, not this Sunday. That was one of the thoughts I had in my head, but I wasn't going to say it. But, Anyway, y'all. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening. I'm about to go watch wrestling. So, y'all take care, stay safe, and you know what to do when the agents of chaos kind of mess up your existence.